in a shifting world, do you want to be healthier? If you're stressed, do you skip workouts? Do you eat a little crappier? I know I do. Because I was up at 1, I skipped my workout this morning. First time I think I've missed in about 3 months, and I'm pissed, but I gotta get it done. I'll go do it tonight. But it happens, right? Like, can relationships suffer? Do you eat wrong, right? Do you wanna have a better mindset? Do you lose your purpose? Mostly all the niches, I can't imagine hardly any niche. Even if you teach art, piano, guitar, like when things go south, you want that something different. You want that alternative. You want to find something. And I think that's why the tide rises, it lifts all boats. When things shift, this industry lifts. So I think it affects everybody. But I want to give you a high level picture of the message, the visuals I had in 2007 when the world shifted the last time. I was teaching people how to invest in real estate. And I saw what was coming. It didn't take a rocket scientist to see, kind of like where we are now. And I was teaching people, and I was watching all the other competitors. Back then it was Carlton Sheets was my biggest competitor. And he had been on forever. And it was his infomercials, because there was no internet, that's why we had infomercials, were very aspirational. Get in real estate and get the second house and buy the extra car and go on more vacations. And wow, that's great for an aspirational market. But the world was shifting, and I was thinking less speedboat, more life preservers. And I'm gonna give you this analogy, take it, adjust it, change the framework any way you want. But back then, and I really want you to hear this, this is what helped me be a really good marketer. I did not have the luxury of targeting my ideal client. It didn't exist. I couldn't go on Facebook and said, I want single moms who do yoga and like peanut butter and jelly. Like, that's the target market I want to go after. And you know, do Pilates after 5. Like, we can fine tune and narrow our niche so much. We could speak on Instagram just about our niche. We could create a Facebook group just about our niche. That didn't happen for Tony. And when I started, we couldn't narrow down our niche. We had to go on an infomercial and just broadcast to everybody who watched CNN or Fox News or was on the Discovery Channel or ABC in the morning. Like, it was just a wide net. Does that make sense? So if you can't, with that, I had to be intuitive or learn to be intuitive on what people were feeling. I really want you to hear this. I know this, I promise I'll bring this all back around. I had to be intuitive to what people are feeling. Think of the Titanic. It's in the harbor, did it leave London? It was England somewhere, right? It's in the harbor. It is the biggest ship that's ever built. It is the fastest big ship ever built. It is the maiden voyage. It is gorgeous. It is light years ahead of anything that was ever created prior. That's, to me, that's like the economy over the last few years. It's aspirational. This is amazing, right? And if I were selling a seat on that, imagine you'd be like, everything I said, it's the fastest, it's the biggest, it's the most beautiful, it's got marble, it's got fancy food, it's got music, aspirational, it's perfect, right? That's how I'd sell it if it was like, the way I looked at it, if it was 2005 or 2006 before things turned, that's how I would sell that. But then after the Titanic hit the iceberg, would anybody care about the fancy meals or how fast it was or how beautiful it was? What would people care about once it hit, right? All they would care about is a lifeboat or a life preserver, safety. So what happens is, in 2007, the economy hit an iceberg. And here's what I noticed. I want you to hear this. All of my competitors were still selling aspirational. They were still selling faster boats and bigger dreams. And in my head, I'm like, I drove down the street the other day. Every other house, every third house in this neighborhood's got a foreclosure sign on it. I don't think anybody's thinking about the vacation home or the Lamborghini. I think they're thinking about your words, lifeboats, safety, survival, life preservers, right? So what did I do? I shifted. I wrote a book called Be a Real Estate Millionaire, but I shifted the contents. I was in the middle of writing the book, and I just wrote a book how to do one deal every month or one deal every couple of months. It wasn't about getting rich overnight. It was called a wholesale process, where you found really good deals either through foreclosure or other ways, and you sold them to investors. Do you remember, was anybody buying a house in '08? No, everybody was like, I'm not buying crap. I don't want to see where things are going. So everybody's like, how can you sell real estate? Guess who was still buying real estate in '08 and '09? Investors. I bought like 500 houses in '08, '09, 2010, right? So what I did was I taught people, this is not a time you're going to get rich for doing nothing and buy a house like you did 6 months ago and hold it for 6 months and it's worth more, because appreciation wasn't going up, but investors were buying. So I taught people how to go find cheap deals, cheaper than everybody else, and just make a little bit of money in between, 3, 5, 10 grand most, and hand it off to an investor. And guess what I did? I sold life preservers. And in my ads, I was like, guys, this is a shifting world. I know you're thinking, I remember saying, Obama was the president at the time. I said, I think he did everything he thought was the best thing. He approved. Back then, it seemed like a lot of money, $750 billion. Now that's like, that's all you're giving us? Let's go for the trillions, right? But I remember saying, the government just issued $750 billion. Has any of that gone into your bank account? I don't know anybody. They were saying back then it went to Wall Street, not Main Street. That was the headlines. Donna Kennedy, it seems like you remember. And I said, if that's not positively affecting you, I don't have a way for you to get rich overnight or make millions, but I have a way to preserve yourself in this shifting world. And in that year, most of my competitors went out of business. They stayed aspirational. I turned to life preservers. And over that 3-year period, I went from being one of the guys in that space to I own the entire space. When the dust settled, there was no one else in the industry but me. I became the biggest real estate educator in the world. Be a Real Estate Millionaire went on to sell over 1 million copies. I don't think there's another real estate book, I don't know one, we can't find one, that has sold over 1 million copies. And we changed lives all over the country. And at a time where people were struggling, there was nobody using my book. I shouldn't say that. We had some really successful, took it to a whole nother level. But we helped so many people survive and thrive in winter, rather than showing them how to get rich for doing nothing. Now, I know not everybody's showing people how to flip houses or make money, but the mindset, I had to read that mindset on a big level because I couldn't target market my ideal client. My intuition was, hey, people are scared. We must always enter conversations that are going on in the mind of our prospect. I'm going to add something to it. This very moment, right? That's the slogan for today. We must enter conversations already going on in the mind of our prospect today, at this moment. Because over the next 3 to 6 months, I believe the internal conversation, like the one in my head all last night, is changing. Yes, we went through COVID. That was a shift and definite uncertainty. Yes, it's so sad that there's a war going on in the world right now, and I send prayers every single day. I wish I could do more. There's a lot of craziness going on in the world. But I think we're going to add winter on top of it. And when that happens, conversations definitely change. Let me ask you, raise your hand if someone in your life mentioned gas or grocery prices in the last week. Raise your hand if someone's talked about gas or grocery prices in the last week. Raise your hand if anyone has talked about, it looks like the economy's shifting, or worried about the stock market or your 401k. Raise your hand if you've had anybody talk about that in the last week. That's about 80%, 85%. The first one was 100%. So, if conversations are changing, should we be altering our conversation and our influence tactics? Right? And that's this is really today, like I said, this is family hanging out. This is where it all starts. It all starts with the awakening, the awareness. That's a better word. It all starts with the awareness, because here's what I know, and I'll watch this because I've been through it now. I will watch companies that think that whatever they do works. And especially a lot of online marketing companies that have been in business for 10 years or less. Mark my word, you're going to watch a lot of them will disappear because they won't realize that if they don't change their marketing, if they don't live in the mind of their prospect, they will start. It's like being on a treadmill and you're running on 4 and you're hoping to get someplace. but you're not getting anywhere. You're just running in circles, and they're just turning the treadmill up to 8 and wondering why they're still not getting anywhere. A lot of these companies will work harder and faster, but they won't change their messaging. And if you are aware of it, and it goes back to love what we do so much that we feel bad if we don't get people to say yes.
What's up, what's up? Hey, don't forget to look at the action steps we've posted below. They are the perfect way to take your success, abundance in this crazy world to a whole nother level.